We all know who Cleopatra is, but do we know her lesser-known half-sister, Arsinoe? This story is a darker tale of sibling rivalry, but ancient Egypt edition. Growing up in Cleopatra's shadow could not have been easy. Arsinoe was just as beautiful, brilliant, and ambitious as her elder sister, but history had other plans. In another world, they might have been true sisters bonded by blood. Instead, they became mortal enemies, each vying for the throne. By the way, this is a good overview, but if you want a deep dive, I do a podcast on my Substack as requested. So head over there for all the details on their intertwangled historic rivalry. It's debated when exactly the rivalry started, but most would say it would begin when their brother, Ptolemy VIII, also Cleopatra's husband / co-ruler, exiled Cleopatra from Egypt. 16-year-old Arsinoe saw her chance at the throne, but Cleopatra learned from history. Like her father before her, she turned to Rome for help. Enter Julius Caesar. In a now legendary move, 22-year-old Cleopatra smuggled herself into Julius Caesar's room wrapped in a rug. While history paints Cleopatra as a seductress, it was really her strategic brilliance and boldness that won Caesar over. And it didn't hurt that she was technically the richest woman in the world. But Arsinoe was not finished. In a stunning display of military genius, this teenage girl forced the Julius Caesar to swim for his life when she orchestrated an ambush at the Pharaoh's lighthouse. She even raised his purple cloak as a victory trophy. I mean, talk about teen spirit. Unfortunately, this victory was short-lived. Caesar's reinforcements arrived and they quickly struck down Arsinoe's men and drowned her brother Ptolemy in the Nile when he tried to flee. Caesar then installed Cleopatra on the throne with his baby growing in her belly, a soon-to-be-born Caesarion. Unlike her brother, Arsinoe was kept alive but taken captive to Rome, where she was paraded around the streets in golden chains in front of the Roman subjects. The sight of this poor teenager exiled in chains away from home horrified the Romans. So Caesar knew killing her was not the right move. Instead, he spared her with Cleopatra's consent and sent her to live out the rest of her days at the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus. But Caesar's growing god complex led to the Ides of March, where he was stabbed 23 times by his own senators. After this, Cleopatra returned to Egypt, where she made a strategic alliance with Mark Antony, which eventually turned into real love. At the same time, Cleopatra's brother, whom she was supposed to be co-ruling with, suddenly dies of poisoning. Arsinoe knew that with Caesar dead and Mark Antony now by Cleopatra's side, she was completely vulnerable to her sister's plotting. As long as she remained alive, Arsinoe remained a threat to her sister's throne, and she knew that. What made matters worse is that people in Ephesus started calling Arsinoe queen. If word of that reached Egypt's ears, it was as good as a death sentence. And that's exactly what ended up happening. In 41 BCE, Arsinoe was found bleeding out on the temple steps at Artemis, likely done away with by Antony's men. She was likely 20 years old, maybe a few years older. Arsinoe was the queen who never was. Cleopatra is arguably one of the most famous women in history, period. But her sister, Arsinoe, who once outmaneuvered Julius Caesar,